Hey, all you peoples. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of the Lighten Up Project. I am Malcolm Grissom, the stand-up CEO and the founder of the World Laughter Organization. And today, I am so pleased to have yet another fantabulous guest because, I know them, so they gotta be fantabulous people for me to know them, right? Right? Today I am going to introduce you and bring Shiraz Baboo. Shiraz is a multi-award winning author, international speaker, and reality interventionist. His work, what he does is he helps people permanently rewrite the stories that continue to keep them stuck. And his work not only changes people and changes lives, but it changes the way people see reality itself. Please help me welcome Shiraz Baboo.
Thank you. Great to be here, Malcolm.
So pleased to have you. So what I love to do is I love to start my interviews with 20 seconds of spontaneous laughter. Are you up for that?
Sure, why not?
All right. Okay. Here we go. And laugh.
Yes.
How you feeling, Shiraz?
I'm feeling amazing.
Good. Thank you very much. So tell us, if you will, what is your relationship with laughter?
Well, I laugh every day. And not just like there's a chuckle, there's a big belly laugh every single day. And it's interesting when I talk to people about laughter, a lot of people don't laugh every single day. And some people will go like a week without laughing, which shocks me. But it's healthy, it's important, it keeps your emotions up. And so I'm always watching something funny or reading something funny or joking around with friends. So there's always laughter.
Do you think of laughter as a reaction?
As a reaction to something funny?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And I assume that most people that you speak to also think of it as a reaction to something funny.
Yeah, for the most part. But I know laughter yoga instructors, so that's not a reaction. That's purposefully creating laughter, kind of like we did to start the show.
Mm-hmm.
So not a reaction, but just conditioning to put you in a specific mood and to get things flowing in the body.
The only reason, that's true. That's true. Exactly what you said. And the only reason I was asking that is because it seems to me that perhaps a lot of these people who say go a week without laughing, they're looking for something to make them laugh, and they don't have something, and that's why they go so long.
Yes and no. I think sometimes they think they need something else in their life to make them laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they don't want to laugh. Some people have the opinion that life is hard, life is a struggle. It's not a laughing matter. We have to take things seriously now that we're adults. And so they deny themselves the laughter.
Yes. And that is a problem. So let us, for those in the audience that don't know what a reality interventionist is, could you explain that to us?
Sure. So just like someone may do an intervention with you around drugs or alcohol, and it's like what you're doing is hurting you and it's hurting you, the people around you. As a reality interventionist, I talk to you about the reality you're creating. So if you're creating constant struggle, if you're living in lack, that's actually an addiction. Most people don't realize it. Constant struggle is an addiction. Having to work hard all the time is an addiction. Not being seen or being ignored is an addiction. And it seems crazy. It just seems like these are situations. But let's say you were told growing up, you have to work hard to succeed. Right? It's not actually true. You don't have to work hard to succeed. You have to be willing to work hard to succeed. But if you were brought up with you have to work hard to succeed, every time you work hard, you feel like, wow, I just worked hard, and your body actually hits you with dopamine. So every time you work hard again, you hit another dopamine hit and another dopamine hit, and that's the addiction. You've got a dopamine addiction to working hard. So if you start changing your life and making it easy, your body's not getting those dopamine hits anymore, and it actually goes into withdrawal. And it starts sending signals to your brain saying, come on, start working hard so I can get my drug fix. It doesn't care that your life is easier and better. It wants its fix. So as an interventionist, I help you go through the withdrawal symptoms so that you can have that easy life and not have those withdrawal symptoms and become addicted to easy instead of hard. That's just one example.
Yeah. Interesting. I love that. So you brought up addiction. So the first thing that comes to my mind, and I'm sure a lot of people's minds, is the 12 steps when they think about addictions. What is the correlation, or is there a correlation between what you do and, say, the 12 steps that an alcoholic or someone addicted to narcotics would go through?
So we're not actually dealing with drug addiction like for external drugs. So alcohol, cigarettes, those types, and other types of drugs. We're dealing with the inner drugs that your body generates. So it's different from the 12-step program. It's coming into an awareness that, oh, I get a hit every time I do something. So let's say that you're struggling in your business, but your friends are saying, hey, Malcolm, we see you're working hard. We love you. We support you, right? We got you. Your mind might make a decision. Well, as long as I'm struggling, they're going to say that. And whenever they say that, I feel loved. And when you feel loved, you get dopamine, you get oxytocin, like you get a bunch of feel-good chemicals. So then your mind says, well, we have to keep struggling now so that we can keep getting that feedback, so we can keep getting these fixes of dopamine and oxytocin. And so while you consciously try to create success, your mind says, no, let's stay in struggle so everyone will love us. So it's a different kind of approach to working with addictions, because once you get the reasoning out of the way that people are still going to love you whether you're struggling or you're successful, then you don't need to get the love just from the struggle. You can get the love from the success. Mm-hmm. And just then that's when the success starts to show up in your life.
That seems similar, very similar to not the physical addictions, but some of the more emotional and mental addictions, like love addiction or overeating, addiction to overeating, or things like that. Are they similar? Do you see them?
It's similar, but and again, that what I help people with is nothing around that. It's about creating success. It's about creating wealth. It's about becoming more visible, because you have addictions that keep you from doing that. Right. And so when we deal with what I call it reality addiction, we can change your entire life. And here's the thing: with reality addiction, you're always going to be addicted to something. Like if it's drugs, you can get off the drugs. But with reality, your body uses addiction to maintain homeostasis. So what we do is we shift the addiction. So I used to work hard all the time. And then I realized, what if I got my fix by things being unexpectedly easy? So whenever something was unexpectedly easy, I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. And I would anchor that in. It's like, yes, and give myself a dopamine hit. And as it came up more and more, I started just anchoring, yes, that was easy too. Yes, that was easy too. And so now my body is creating an addiction to things being easy, which is opposed to the addiction of things being hard. So the addiction to things being hard fades away, it dissolves. And the addiction to things being easy locks in. So things like my reticular activating system is now looking for ways to make things easy. And then when I make it easy, it shows up. And if you were into law of attraction, I'm now attracting ways for things to be easy. And they start showing up in my life. And so is it always easy? No, sometimes it's hard, but I don't get my fix when it's hard. I only get my fix when it's easy. And so for the most part, life is easy, which I love.
Now, it seems like that would be very conducive to what we talk about here, which is play, the power of play and laughter in the healing process. Especially, not only in the healing process, but especially in the healing process. And it sounds like what you are, it sounds like what you're saying and describing is very, very much parallel to play and laughter. Have you ever used play and laughter in your work?
Well, yes. As I said, I laugh all the time. I teach people that they should be laughing every day, that life is a game. So don't treat it so seriously. The more fun you have in life, the better your life is going to be. And I see so many people with the attitude, I will be happy when, right? And so, no, be happy now and continue to be happy. And if that thing you're looking for shows up, that's a bonus on top of the happiness. But people keeping themselves out of happiness until they get the thing or the person or the opportunity they want, they're denying themselves the full extent of life.
Tell us about a time that you have laughed spontaneously. Besides today, of course.
There was one, I remember this distinctly. I was in Europe. I was backpacking and I was halfway up a mountain and just looking out at the scenery. And my body just filled with this joy of the freedom and the view and the whole experience of this is my life. And I just started laughing. And just spontaneously, there was no trigger other than this, wow, this is my life. And it felt so amazing. And I've had a few instances like that in my life where it just starts, the laughter just starts. And it's always from these moments of pure joy.
Pure joy.
Yep.
And so do you create or do you strive to create or help your clients create pure joy?
Well, that's one of the goals. The more often you are in a state of pure joy, the more your life just flows for you. You start getting everything you want, of course, happier, and life is easy.
Yeah, okay. All right. Sounds good. Yeah. Life's easy. Okay. So tell us, if you will, share with us a moment when, without, of course, asking you to divulge too much about a client, but could you share with us a general moment or a story without using any specifics where a client came to that realization of pure joy?
Okay. So one of my clients, I remember we had been working together for a while, and she'd seen small changes in her life as we started working together. And she finally said, I want big changes. And I said, no, you don't. And she goes, no, I want big changes. I'm tired of getting small little changes. I said, every time we bring up something about creating big change, you change the subject or you don't want to talk about it. Like you have all these excuses. And you've been doing that since we started working together. And she said, well, I'm done with that. I want big change now. And I said, okay. But remember, if we do this, there's no turning back. Once you open that door, you got to step through it. She's like, I'm ready. Let's step through it. So we did a little work. And then the next week she calls me and she goes, what the hell did you do to me? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I knew what was going on, but I just had to get it from her. And she goes, in the last week, I've been fired from my job. I'm being evicted from my apartment. And I broke up with my boyfriend. She goes, this is not what I wanted. I said, I know this is not what you wanted, but tell me, how much did you love your job? She goes, I hated my job. And I'm like, yeah, so it had to go. And what about your apartment? Well, the landlord wasn't fixing things. It was starting to break down. I said, so you didn't want that either. It's gone. What about the boyfriend? We were fighting all the time. Okay, that's gone. And so she's like, this is not what I wanted. I said, yeah, but this is what you needed. And so she was upset with me, but we kept working together. And over the next little while, she created her own business. The business grew. She was now making 5 times as much money as she was making before. She was traveling around the world. Her business got nominated for the top business in her field 2 years running in Ontario, Canada. And she contacted me one time while she's on vacation, and she's like, I love my life. I'm like, yeah, we have to get rid of the old one though. So, but she got to that place of, this is where I'm supposed to be. And it comes from letting go of what is.
That's a very interesting story. We love that transition. Was there a time when you were you always able to feel when someone else let's see. I've worked with you a number of times, and one thing about you is that you can feel like your example of, I want big changes. No, you don't. Yes, I do. You were able to feel and sense what the other person really wants. You were able, if I were to say to you, Shiraz, I've been doing that all morning with Shiraz Baboo.
A bit.
I'm sorry, Shiraz. I'm so sorry, Shiraz. Were you able to, you're able to really tell what the other person really thinks and really wants.
So I can tell when your conscious beliefs match your unconscious beliefs.
Right.
So whenever they don't, it shows up in you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what thank you for helping me put that into words. Did you always have that ability, or?
This is a skill. It's something you can get trained in. I actually teach people how to do it and certify them in the techniques I use.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone on the planet can do it. It just requires building that muscle.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
It's a useful tool to have, though.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. BS monitor in my line of work.
Yeah. Except it's like, if someone is intentionally lying to me, their conscious and their unconscious are actually aligned, so it doesn't show up. But if they're lying to themselves, it shows up. Right? So if you say, I'd like to make an extra $1 million this year, then if you actually do deep down, then I'm like, yeah, you do. But if you deep down, that scares the crap out of you, I'm like, nope, Malcolm, you don't. You don't want to make $1 million. And then we have to find out why.
And what is it that you look for, or that says, the difference between someone who's consciously lying to you and consciously lying to themselves. There's a difference. And what is that difference?
It shows up in your energy. Sometimes it shows up in your body language as well.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's always there in your energy. So I can tell when I'm having a conversation with you and I can see you, but I can also do it over the phone and I can also do it over text.
Mm-hmm.
So over text. So it's about the energy. It's not about the voice or the posture or the subtle movements or anything. It's about the energy.
Now, that's interesting over text. What can you say more about that?
Well, because energy doesn't lie and energy is transmitted everywhere to everyone. So whether you're talking to me in person or in text, your energy does the same thing if you're lying to yourself. And I pick up on that. And again, anyone can do this. It just takes some training.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. I love that. So tell us, give us some idea about how, you've told us that you use laughter, that you suggest that your clients use laughter, you help your clients use laughter or get to that pure joy moment.
Yes.
Can you describe your process and how you would do that? If someone is, let me give you a scenario. So if someone was coming to you, say the client that you described came to you, said, I want big changes, and then a week later comes to you and says, Shiraz, what did you do to me? Where in that process, where would you try to insert joy and laughter?
So in that process, I would not insert laughter because they're upset. They may be angry. They may be scared. So from those places, you want to go into acceptance. Because if you're pushing back against the thing that's happening that's good for you, you're going to stop it from happening. When you stop pushing and you go into acceptance, you can go fully into the path that you're meant to go to. And then once you start going down that path, you'll start to see the benefits of it. And that's where you can come into bigger joy. And then when you realize that everything is happening for you, it becomes a place of joy and laughter. I don't have a specific thing I make them go through to create laughter. However, in my workshops, there is always laughter. I'm always joking around. It's always a fun space. And so I'm teaching by example. This is how life can be, because oftentimes we're discussing really serious things, but I still bring laughter into the mix to put people at ease. Right? And I encourage them. I have said just straight out, if you're not laughing every day, find a way to laugh every day. Watch something funny. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell jokes, whatever it is. And I laugh at my own jokes, even though they might be really stupid, but I think I'm hilarious. So there's a lot of laughter every day.
Yes, and to be absolutely clear, I wasn't suggesting that you, in that scenario, that you would add laughter or joy right away.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think you were. What I heard is that with that client, what you did was you accepted and you worked with her until she accepted. And that's when you were able to add and get to the point of adding more joy and pure joy in the situation. However, what I also understand is that you don't necessarily have a specific process of adding that joy.
Yeah.
Correct?
So that's it. Like I teach people to be it like let's look at it this way. There's push energy and there's pull energy.
Mm-hmm.
Push energy is the energy of resistance. I don't want to be in this situation. I need to get out of that job. I have to make sure I'm not like these people. I have to make sure this never happens. It's all push energy. And there's no happiness in push energy. Pull energy is, oh, I can't wait to do this. And I love how this is working out for me. And I enjoy spending time with these people. And there's a pull into this wonderful space. So one of the things I really teach is get out of the push energy. Notice when you're in push energy and shift it into pull energy, because you can't do both at the same time. And what people think is, if it's like, I have to make sure I'm not like my dad because my dad was such a horrible person or something like that, then if I say stop doing that, they automatically think, so you want me to be like my dad? And I said, no, I just wanted you to stop not being like your dad. And they said, but that doesn't make any sense, because if I stop not being like him, I'll be like him. I said, no, if you stop not being your dad, you can then be you. Mm-hmm. Right now, you're not trying to be you. You're just trying not to be your dad.
Right.
And so pull energy into being you is way more powerful, way more fun than the not being like your dad.
Great. And this is a great transition to what I also wanted to discuss with you. So discrimination, and let's say you're on the job. So someone's on the job. We have a lot of educators and therapists who are watching, and they're on the job, and they get a lot of push energy, usually from the people above. Not so much from the clients they're working with, but maybe from the people above. So they get a lot of this push energy, and well, they can choose, a lot of people choose then to push back. And how would you suggest that someone deal with discrimination? So say that push energy, it's really in the form of discrimination. So it's happening, they're discriminating for some reason.
Okay.
What would you suggest to that employee to change their reality? I mean, they couldn't quit their job. So how else would you suggest they change their reality?
Well, there is an option to quit your job. Right? There's an option. Let's get a better job. One when the person that I work for is not racist. That's all right there. To look at it from a different aspect, and this is where people have a hard time accepting it. It's, why do I want this experience? Right? Nothing happens in your life that you don't actually want at an unconscious level, not a conscious level. Right? So I'll give you an example. So I used to travel. I mean, I still travel, but whenever I traveled, I would get stopped at the borders every single time. Right? And I would ask extra questions. I would get my person searched. I would get my luggage searched. And I checked a couple of times, like when I was traveling through Europe, I'm like, is this your black check? And the guys were like, excuse me? I said, look, I don't want to make any trouble. I just want to confirm, because I don't see you stopping the white people. Is this your black check? And he said, look, I'm just doing what my boss told me to do. And I said, what did your boss tell you to do? He said, the boss says stop the colored people and check them. Okay. So I had evidence that this is what's going on. This is racism. And this is what's happening to me. Every single border I crossed. And I was talking to talking to one of my coaches about it. And he said, Shiraz, are you ready to step out of that story? And so everything I deal with is in the form of stories. So the story that you get stopped at the border all the time, or you never make the money you want, or you're always sick, or whatever it is, right? Your boss is using that push energy out of racism. So I got upset, right? Because I said, this isn't a story. This is racism. I've had it verified, right? And this is just something that's real. It's in the world. And he said, yes, racism's real. It's in the world. But what you're talking about is a story. Now, here's the thing. Every one of our stories has a benefit, right? You just don't know what the benefit is. So let's say you want to make more money, but you're not making more money. The benefit could be that you have this belief that if you make lots of money, people are going to come up and say, can I have some? Can you invest in my charity? Can you take care of me because you can afford to? You have to take care of the whole family now. And if you have an emotional reaction to people saying that, your mind says, well, let's not make the money so we don't have to worry about any of that. So while consciously you're trying to make more money, unconsciously it's like, no, we're staying here. That's the benefit, is we don't have to worry about all that stuff that happens when we're rich. So when he said what I had was a story, I said, there's no benefit here, right? Because I'm getting delayed. I'm getting humiliated. I'm losing money sometimes. Like there's all this stuff that's going on. None of it is good. Where's the benefit? If this is a story, where's the benefit? He goes, so first of all, we can tell it's a story for you, Shiraz, because you don't get stopped in traffic because you're Black. You don't get denied jobs because you're Black. There's all these things that happen to Black people through discrimination. They don't happen to you. You only get stopped at borders. That's a story. There's a clue right there that that's a story. So I said, okay, let's say that that's a story. What's the benefit? And he said, when you tell your border crossing stories to people, you light up. You feed off their reaction to it. You feed off their sympathy for you. It's like, oh my God, again, Shiraz? Oh my, I'm like, this should be happening. We feel so sorry for you. That feels like love. And you are addicted to the people's reactions and the love you get for telling your stories. So you can't just stop getting stopped at borders. You need fresh material. You need new borders to get stopped at. So you make sure you get stopped at borders. And I thought, oh my God, I do love the reactions when I tell the border crossing stories. So I made a decision and I said, I can get love from successes as opposed to struggle. So if I hang out with people that are creating success, I support them, they support me, and we celebrate our successes, I can still get the love. I don't need it for my struggles. So I made that decision, and then I just stopped getting stopped at borders. It went away, like instantaneously. And when I looked back and saw what was going on, I realized, what are agents trained to do? Look for the suspicious people in the airport. The certain tells that people have. What was I doing when I entered the airport? Looking to see who's going to stop me this time. It's a suspicious look because I'm glancing around the room wondering who's going to stop me. So I'm lighting myself up to the customs agents to get checked. And I didn't even realize it. Right? So that's the story and the reward for the story. And so once you get that things are going on that you don't even realize you're doing, they're happening unconsciously, that everything that's showing up in your life, you want to show up. You just don't know why. Then it becomes a matter of, instead of, oh, how do I stop this from happening? It's, what's the benefit here I'm not seeing? And when you figure out what that benefit is, you can cancel that out and put something better there, right? So discrimination at work, it could be so you can tell your stories to your friends. Oh my God, my boss did this to me again. My boss never lets me advance because he's racist. Like, and then your friends are like, oh my God, that's horrible. Sorry to hear that. That could be an addiction. That could be the benefit of your story. Mm-hmm. It could be that if I do really, really well at work and my brothers and sisters aren't, they're all stuck in struggle, I'll feel guilty. So I need that boss oppressing me so I'm with everyone else and I fit in, right? There could be all these different stories that cause the scenario that you're in. Once you accept life is working for you, not against you, then you start looking at, well, why do I want this? And then you change those things and life just flows.
And before I talk about how people really work with you more, I would like to ask one more question. And so in that you have to get to that acceptance point, and
Yes.
laughter is not appropriate at that point, because a lot of people they have ideas about laughter. It's been rooted. They've been brought up with them with these ideas. They have stories around laughter and when laughter is appropriate, when it's not, and things like that. However, play is a little different than laughter. Play seems to be a little more acceptable. So yes, people need to come to that acceptance before they can move on to that pure joy where they can find more laughter. I see that. Do you ever use play, any type of play, when people are still stuck in their stories, in order to help them get unstuck?
Whenever people are in sessions with me, we play. Mm-hmm. And I always encourage people to realize that life is a game, so you might as well just play with it. Mm-hmm. If you're in resistance, that struggle, that's never going to feel like play. When you're in acceptance, then you can move from acceptance into play. And life can get a lot easier. Like when I look at my life, if something's going wrong, I don't think, oh my God, what's going on here? I think, let's see what's happening with Shiraz. How do we get him out of this situation? I sort of take it like from a third person point of view, because then I don't take everything that's happening personally.
Right.
And it's just like if you were playing a game and this was a character, you would treat it differently than if you're the character, because the character takes everything so personal and feels stuck and doesn't see the opportunities. But looking at third person, you're like, oh, but that's over there, and this person can help over here. And what if we move them over here? And that opens things up for you. So it is a game. So you might as well be playing every day of your life.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Shiraz, how can people work with you?
You can go to Energetic Magic, and I have a whole bunch of services available for different levels of, I work primarily with entrepreneurs, and from the trying to get to 100,000 to 100,000 to $1 million to 7 figures going and adding 7, 8, 9 figures, adding a zero to your income. And it all starts on the homepage. There is a link there to the Coach's Money Mindset Reset. Mm-hmm. And people are set for a specific amount of money, whatever that level is. And this free workshop, we help you to remove that set point so it can go up. And I do this workshop every month. I've been doing it for 8 years now. And people come out and they have transformations. They make more money or find out ways to do things that are easier or get better connections. They raise their prices. So it's all about removing all the reasons why you think you have to make this much money or you have to go slowly in your income as opposed to just shooting up. We take all that out during the workshops.
Wonderful, wonderful, Shiraz. This has been such a lovely, eye-opening time.
Thank you.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I hope that our listeners have as well. Any last words for us?
It's funny because the whole theme of this podcast, I always end off with, don't be afraid to be the happiest person in the room. Right? The happiest person sets the level that everyone else can come up to. So be the happiest person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love it. Love it. And everyone, I have put all the information about Shiraz and how to contact him and information about his website. That's all in our show notes. And Shiraz, I want to thank you so much for giving us your time and sharing that with us. And everyone else, my goodness, thank you so much for coming to another episode. I'm so happy that you are joining in our conversation, that you're joining in the movement that we're creating. Next time, next show, we'll continue the spontaneity and the joy and the education with yet another interesting interview that I'm gonna tease, but not now. All right. Well, thank you very much, Shiraz.
Thank you, Malcolm. This has been great.
Stressed out, stuck, or leading on autopilot? It's not a motivational problem. It's a connection problem. My weekly virtual improv classes boost engagement, collaboration, and retention, all while having fun. Register now for a complimentary month